Hey guys, Master also here. This time we're going to go with another arena pick, and the class we're going to choose this is going to be Warlock. Warlock got a lot of interesting cards in arena after GvG. One of my favorites is the Floating Watcher, which is a 5 mana 4/4 and gain 2/2 when you don't take damage on your own turn.
Embrace the
This is
shadow.
Warlock. So seems like tap and first card we have is Ancient Watcher, Blood Cell, Corsair, and Doomguard. In this scenario, the best pick is Doomguard because Ancient Watcher requires a lot of, well, it's just not a good card in. It's not a good card in arena unless you have many ways to silence it. And Blood Cell Corsair is it's basically like a one mana ooze, since most of your opponents use one charge of their weapon when they play it. But Doomguard is just a lot better than the other two picks. Second pick, we have Draggling Mechanic, Raging Working, and Dread Inferno. The problem with Mechanic is it summons a 2/1, which when you play against Arena, especially when you play late games, the 2/1 just dies to a ping, and therefore it's actually a 4 mana 2/4 with no card draw. So it's like a worse version of the Gnomish Inventor. Raging Working is fine in early games, but this Red Inferno has a lot of utilities. It does 1 damage AoE, which can proc a lot of interesting stuff like Floating Watcher. The previous turn you use Floating Watcher, and then the next turn you tap and you play Dread Inferno, then your Floating Watcher becomes at 8/8. Oh, there's another Floating Dread Inferno. We can either pick it again, go for a Taunt Grizzly. 3/4/3/3 Taunt is fine. It has also a pretty interesting beast synergy, but Warlock does not have beast synergy. If this were Druid or Hunter, I would pick this card over Archmage. But since we're Warlock, I would say I would pick Dread Inferno again for the because it's a solid card. It has 6 damage, it's only have 4. So yeah, Dread Inferno. And the most important thing about Warlock is sometimes you can get really good demon synergies. Like Void Color, and then you kill the Void Color, you get a 6/6 for free. Stormwind Champion is, I like the card a lot, but we already have 3 large creatures on first three picks. So I'm kind of trying to stay away from high creature costs at this point of the game. Ship Cannon is fine, even though it's a 2/3 and not a 3/2, but again, this is constructed, so you have to keep in mind that Pirate Synergy is not that easy to pull off in an arena. You have to go with suboptimal picks, like the Blood Raider, Corsair we saw earlier. This is more of a constructed card. So it's like if you're going to play a pirate deck, this is like a better version for the Knife Juggler. So I'm going to go with Silver Moon Guardian. As the one already said it, we don't have any way to proc it. Seer, Murloc, you really won't be able to get a lot of synergies off that. And Target Dummy. Target Dummy, I had to pick this card once because the other 2 cards were like something really bad. So the choice here is between the Target Dummy and the Ancient Watcher. I am tempted to pick the Target Dummy because it's a fine taunt, it doesn't need activators, and it has max synergy, and it's 0 mana. So it's really not a good pick, but it's better than Ancient Watcher, and I don't have any way to activate the Watcher yet. And if I don't draw any activators in the late game, this is just a dead card. At least this one has a taunt. So, Sacrificial Pact, Bay Bodyguard, for Stormwind Champion. I don't like this card because in arenas, I have actually not picked this card very much in the past. Bay Bodyguard is not as good taunt because of the 4 health. It can die to a Dark Mom, which a lot of Warlock runs these days. It can die to a Ping and a Frostbolt. Stormwind Champion, again, I want to stay away from this card because I have a lot of high drops. But in this case, I also don't want to pick Sacrificial Pact because it's just way too unreliable. That allows me to kill one of the enemy Warlock demons. And the best case scenario is if they have Druxes, you just get a free game win. Well, maybe we'll pick this one. Okay, 5th game, we got a lot of high drops. I'm just going to pick it because it's fine. It's fine. I'll pick a fun card. Ogre Brute is a pretty solid 4/4 drop, but the 50 chance to attack the wrong enemy makes it not the best creature if you cannot count on the 50/50. Still, this is a really good 3 drops. Again, Paladins, it might also be a great True Silver champion taunt. And Abusive Sergeant, I will pick this card if I see a lot of low 2 drops or 2 or 3 drops. It allows you to trade one of your, for example, this one into their Yetis. But in this case, Ogre Brute is better. Okay, I like the Stalker in the early games because of the stealth. It allows you to trade into one of their higher cost minions. Problem is with Warlock, you can't really hit for 2 and ping up for 1, or with 3 health creatures. But in Arena, lots of people run 3 2 drops, so this is fine. Goody Bay Bodyguard against 4 health is not going to do its job as a taunt. Goldshire Fullman is, well, I cannot think of a scenario where I pick this card. It's 2 health, 1 damage. Maybe like the other one with like a Wisp or like a Murloc or something. But in this case, we're going to pick the Stalker. Okay, we have another Dread Inferno, Gurubashi Berserker, or Jungle Panther. Since I already have 3 demons with really high creature, with really high cost, I want to not pick this. And since we still haven't got any low drops, I'm tempted to pick the Jungle Panther. Gurubashi Berserker is really useful if you can either ping it with a 1, or you can heal it up. As a Warlock, most of the times, the best case scenario is I play this turn 5, play this turn 6, and then it does 1 damage and it becomes a 5/4, 5/6, and you can trade something and becomes for 8 or 5 or 8 something. But that way is just way too unreliable. Dread Inferno, again, we said it is just, we have 2 of these already and it's on our ace pick. I don't want to have like 4 high cost creatures on my 9 ace pick. That's just way too much. Jungle Panther is acceptable. Sometimes it dies to a Consecrate, but if you can use this to bait out a Consecrate or a board removal like a Sheep and Ping, because this is 3 mana, the opponent can ship and ping it. I would say it's really good value, and the best part is since it's stealth, that means it's really hard to remove if they do not have board removal, since it's stealth. This might be a good pick here. I picked Fell River before and just go for face. That strategy works if you have a lot of creatures in your hand to back up, because you can just play Fell River. I don't care what the opponent plays, it discards a card, and then just go for face every time. But in this case, we have Demon Heart. I would say Demon Heart is a fine card. 5 damage. It's like a 5 mana king, but it also have the ability to deal 5 damage to a minion. So it can either be a buff, or it can be, well, let's say a lot of arena creatures have 5 health or 8. So yeah, this is very versatile. I like it. And now I have 3 demons. Mountain Giant is also an acceptable pick because right now I have a lot of low drops and it really synergy well with Warlock. Warlock hero ability, tap and then this gains one. This reduces 1 mana. But in this case, since I've never played Demon Heart before, I'm gonna try to see how it works in arena. Maybe it's a bad pick, but I think it's fine. Again, War Golem is a fine vanilla 7 for 7/7, but we have a lot of high drops, and I need 2 and 3 drops so I don't get overwhelmed in early game. Silverhand Knight is fine mid game. It makes your creatures kind of hard to deal with since it's a 4/4 and a 2/2. Either your opponent have the board and they can trade it, or they had to waste removals on it. Amani Berserker is fine for 2/2, 2/3. Okay, Leopard Gnome, Young Dragon Hawk, or Flying Machine. This card is good if you can buff it up, but I can't. And this card is also good if you can buff it up, but you can't. As a Warlock. Not yet, at least. So, Leopard Gnome. Margot, Raid Leader, Shield Bearer. I don't think I've ever picked this card ever in Arena. Murloc Tidehunter is a 2 for 2/1 and 1/1. So you can think of it as a 2 for 2/2, which is not as great as many of the other cards I have in my deck. And I like minions that can buff other minions' attacks, so it makes you able to trade into their higher creature costs cards a lot more efficiently. So for example, if they play Armani, for example, and I have Armani on board, or in normal situations that we expect, I trade for either I go for face or I don't make a favorable trade against their Armani. But if I have Raid Leader, if I play Raid Leader next turn, my Armani becomes a 3/3, so I can trade into their Armani Berserker with a favorable trade, and I still have a 5/1 and a 2/2. So either they have to waste their hero power on ping, or they have to waste removals, or they're risking of playing a big creature and get killed by my 5/1 next turn. So this is why we are going to choose the Raid Leader. However, the problem is if you draw this late game and you don't have a creature to back this up, and you are in top deck mode, this is a really bad card. Silverback Patriarch not getting picked, Flying Machine not getting picked, 3 mana for 1/4, just horrible stats. Yeah, even it has Wind Fury, but no. Hearthstone is a lot better. It has big synergy, it has Death Rattles, it's a sticky creature, it's like 3 for 2/4. So Hearthstone, and sometimes you can even bait out a silence, I mean. Undertaker, how many Death Rattle do I have? I have 1 Death Rattle, 2 Death Rattles, 2 Death Rattles. I have 2 Death Rattles on 14 of my cards. But since in Arena, you can't really expect when you're going to get Death Rattles. So this really is not that good pick unless you have a crazy Death Rattle with either mech or some other bunch of small annoying stuff. Then I will not pick the Undertaker. Wilshire Footman, again, if you're really desperate, if you really want to taunt, you will pick this. But I would not pick this under normal scenarios, normal circumstances. I would say it's better for a Wisp. It's better than a Wisp for Warlock, but it's not better than a Wisp if you're playing as a Rogue. A Rogue, if you have like Undertaker, Ghostwriter Footman, and a Wisp, I would pick the Wisp because it can combo up with your combo cards. Ancient Brewmaster is fine. You can use this to bounce some creatures like, let's say, just bounce this one. I play this, I hit something like a Yeti, and it becomes a 6/2, and I bounce it, and I play it again. It's like a heal card. Okay, Cockmaster, I have 1 mech, 2 2 max. I have 2 max. It's 1 for 1/2 with potential to being 1 for 3/2 if I get a good draw like that in the early game, but it's really unreliable. And in late games, it's not going to help you that much. Cobalt Geomancer, we have not had a single spell yet. This is the card. People pick this card in Arena not because for the 2 for 2/2, but because for the spell damage +1. So it's like 2 mana, all your spells do 1 more damage. That's one of the reasons why people pick this card in Arena. Because 2 for 2/2 in general is just not good enough. And this card is fine. It counters a lot. It's like a spell bait. Either your opponent has to spend like a fireball or something to kill it off, or they have to use a board wipe, or they have to trade it unfavorably. This is like I would like to compare this to the 5/5 mana 5/5. What is it called? I see you. What is the name? But all your opponent's spell costs 5 more next turn. I like to compare to that, but in Arena this is a better version for it. Okay, Elven Archer deal 1 damage, Warlock Reader. This is a Warlock that I can consider picking because it's 1 mana for a 2/1. Your opponent has to waste a mana next turn to get rid of it. Silver Moon Guardian, I already have one, but in this case, I think it's still better than this one since we're 16 cards in. You can still get some of the 2-drops, and this card is a little bit more stickier than this card since you have to consider the fact that both of these, if you're going to be pinged off, this one is going to die. This one loses Divine Shield, but you still have a 3/3. So if your opponent mage pings it off, or if they have a dude and they destroy the Silver Moon Guardian, the dude is summoned by Paladin for 2 mana. So this is like 4 for 3/3 opponent overload 2. And if you can get this card to play early game, for example, if you play this on turn 4, your opponent is either going to have 4 mana and they had to ping it off, ping the Divine Shield off, and they have 2 mana left, so they have overload 2. Or they had to trade the previous turn, so they have an overload of 2 previous turn. The worst case scenario is when your opponent plays, what is it called, the Blood Knight. The Blood Knight, if they place Blood Knight into this, then yeah, you're pretty much screwed. Right now, I don't have any way to remove it. I don't have any way to remove Blood Knight. I don't have a silence. I don't have a board removal. So it's not looking good if they're going to use if I cannot deal with a creature. Warlock Reader, Core Hunt, Floating Watcher, 7 mana for 9/5, dies to a lot of things Arena. Flame Strike, Pain, Fireball, Polymorph, Hex, Equality, Consecrate, even Humility. If this thing gets Humility, wow. It's just terrible. Shatterware Desk. I don't even think a priest would mind control this creature. Okay, Rogue, Combo, Eviscerate, 5 mana for 7 stat is just really bad. Warlock Raider, again, if you pick this early game, it's fine. If you play this late game, it's just a cannon fodder. Floating Watcher, I like this card a lot in GvG. It's a common, and you can play this either turn 5. I would say play this turn 5 is kind of bad because 4/4 can die to a lot of stuff. Dies to True Silver, dies to basically anything that can deal 1 damage and trade with the board. I would like to play this as a either turn 6 if I have a Flame Imp, turn 6, play this, Flame Imp, bam, become the 5 for a 6/6. Or if there's any other way to activate this. And in the worst case scenario, you can play this turn 7, play it as a 4/4 and hero power. But the best case scenario is when you play, what is it called? The Void Caller. Yeah, you kill your Void Caller, get this out. Next turn you can just either play Dread Inferno, or you can tap, or you can do both. We are 18 cards in and we still haven't seen a Dark Bomb. We still haven't seen Dark Bomb so far. So far got a little bit of nerfed. And so you can't play on turn 4 and play a 4 creature and so far anymore, which I think is kind of important. It's like 25% less efficient if you think of it that way, turn 4. But we don't have that. We don't have, what is 3 damage AoE spell called? Shadow Flame? Not Shadow Flame. Soulfire? No. We don't have an AoE. And we need to be careful with our picks here. That counts as an AoE. Really not efficient AoE. Okay, Mana Addict. I don't have any spell. Well, I don't have any spell to couple with this card. Death Lord. I had a lot of bad memories playing Death Lord. It's basically, if they play it, I kill it. I get something bad with, and I lose out on my battle cry. Or I play something and they kill it and they get like some creatures I can't deal with. Plus, right now I don't think I can deal with their creatures if they kill my Death Lord and I can't bring back the board. So I'm gonna take the Felguard. MC Tech is good. Even though a lot of people in Arena start to play around MC Tech, still is a good card. Sometimes they get overconfident and you MC Tech and then you get lucky, steal their biggest creature, and then your opponent's like, oh crap, I just lost the game. Or sometimes you play into MC Tech and they steal the largest creature and be like, ah crap, why did I play into MC Tech? But most of the times in 7+ games, people do not play into MC Techs anymore. Mana Raz is an interesting card. 2 for a 2/2. If you have a lot of good small drops, this is fine. I remember way back before GvG, I picked a Mana Raz and I play it on turn 2. I have a lot of small drops, 2 or 3 drops. So basically, the opponent is to screw up your opponent's turn. If they want to play something for 3 mana on their third turn, they can't, because that becomes a 4 mana. So either they had to play something small and then I can trade with this, or they had to skip their turn at hero power. And then since I have a lot of small creatures in that match, Mana Raz was a fine card. But right in this case, if I play Mana Raz, it's basically suicide, because most of these cards are really high creature cost. Polar Oracle, I would not pick this card in Warlock, since this is like 3 mana for... Since here, I can draw a lot of cards with my hero power already, and giving each player 2 cards. Giving your opponent 2 cards is pretty dangerous in Arena. I would like to starve my opponent out of cards, not to give them cards, especially when my hero power can already draw cards. So in this case, I'm gonna go with Mind Control. Okay, Soulfire, so we got our Soulfire. We pick it. I don't have any kind of remove except for that. And where's the 5 mana? Yep. Oh, Demon Heart. I like this card a lot. It's basically a 4 mana Abusive Surgeon. The 4 mana version of the Abusive Surgeon. It has really good stats, 4/4/4/4. And it can make you trade into your opponent really favorably. But right now we have a lot of sticky creatures, really value creatures. The problem we don't have is removal. So if they gain board control, I cannot gain back. I cannot just remove their creature and play something my own. So I am tempted in this case to pick Soulfire. Also because I don't have any kind of removals and I need a removal. This is also a removal, but it's +2 attack. Plus, the other thing is, look at my curve right now. If I play this, it's going to be another bump for my 4 mana. But if I pick Soulfire, I have a much smoother early game. The first 1, 2, 3 turns. The first 3 turns are really important in Arena. If you don't have a board wipe. This is because if they overwhelm you, like if you at turn 3 and 4 you don't have a solid board control and you don't have AoE, you lost the game. That's it. You cannot come back from the game. They can start playing either big creatures and trade favorably, or they can wait until you play something and they board wipe your creatures and you just die even faster. So I'll pick a Soul Fire. This is a really good 5-drop. Stealth, and it's a beast. It has higher value in Druid and Hunter decks. But in this case, I think it's still the best pick. Undertake again, we don't have a lot of Death Rattles. Ironforge Rifleman. I'm tempted to pick this card because it's deal 1 damage. So it can, theoretically, you can combo this. I can play this first on turn, well, let's say it's turn 10. I play this Floating Watcher. I tap, it becomes a 6/6. I play this and deal 1 damage to myself, it becomes an 8/8. So that's fine. And Stranglethorn Tiger is also fine because it's a solid 5-drop. It cannot be removed unless they have spell power, Flame Strike. Still, right now I need something to bring back the board, and I think this card, Ironforge Rifleman, might be able to help me to get rid of those 1 mana cost things. You have to keep in mind, if it's a late game, this card is a lot better than this one, since this is what deal 1 damage. This one's deal 1 damage to all characters. But this is such a late game card, I won't be able to play this in the early turns. And I'm not interested in pick another really high 5 mana cost, since I'm 21 cards in and I have no way to regain back my board. Okay, next pick, we have Leper Gnome, Stormwind Champion, and Mad Bomber. Leper Gnome is fine, but Mad Bomber is much better. Why? Because if they play a Leper Gnome, you play Mad Bomber, you can kill their Leper Gnome most of the times. Raging Worgen or Puddle Stomper. Raging Worgen is a 3-drop, but I really have a lot of 3-drops. Puddle Stomper is a good card. I think this is one of the best Murloc cards if you play it by yourself without any backups, without any Murloc backups. This is a really solid 2 for 3/2. It's like a Murloc version of the Raptor, but instead of saying Beast, it has Murloc. Raging Worgen, if I don't have a lot of 3-drops, I would pick this card, but I do, so I'm gonna pick the Puddle Stomper. Hey, Wisp, auto pick. Now, Sacrificial Pack already have one, I'm not gonna pick it again, so I'm gonna pick the Archmage. It's not really the best pick here, but maybe I can combo it up. Maybe I can combo it with Soulfire. Maybe not. Probably not. 4 mana Yeti, Stone Splinter Trog, or Raptor. I have a lot of mid games. Look at this curve. I have a lot of mid games, and if I pick the Yeti, just push my game to late games. However, I can either pick this, and maybe my opponent will play a spell and buff this thing up, or they'll trade it. Or I can play the Bluffer Raptor. Let's see what my minions have. Do they have a lot of 2-health creatures, or do they have a lot of 3-health creatures? If they have a lot of 3-health creatures, I will pick the Raptor. If they have a lot of 2-health creatures, I will pick the Trog. Okay. It looks like I have about a half and half. But most of my 2-drops, that's a 3. That's a 2 damage, 3. That's a 2 damage, 3 health. That's 2 damage, 3 health. That's 3 damage, 2 health. So that's also 3 damage, 2 health. So that's half-half. If I have a lot of, let's say if I have a lot of 3-drops, let's say that's one is 3 health, 3 health, 3 health, 3 health. I will pick this one because this one has 3 damage and 2 health. So depends on what they play, I can play accordingly. Hopefully I can get a favorable trade. But in this case, apparently I have a 50-50. So I'm tempted to pick the Stone Splinter Trog because it does mess up your opponent's turn. Anything in arena that you can do to mess up your opponent's turn, slow down their plays, things like that are good. Power Overwhelming, Dark Healer. This is basically like a delayed removal. Dark Skill Healer. The problem is this thing can be silenced, and if they silence it, yes, technically it's like a card for a card, but they still have their creatures, and that is bad. Dark Skill Healer is Dark Skill Healer can win you some games if they can't kill your board and you have a lot of 1 health, 2 health creatures left, and you can use this to heal them up. Power Overwhelming. Power Overwhelming is like a surprise finisher. You draw a lot of these. Like if someone draws 5 Power Overwhelming, either arena decks, and they just start playing and go for face, the opponent will not expect 5 Power Overwhelmings, and then they just take 20 damage plus whatever is on board next turn, and they die. But this is pretty unreliable. The reason you want to play this is probably use it to trade with your opponent's board. And do I pick it? Well, if I pick it, maybe in the early games I can play something small. Hopefully, I can power overwhelming it and trade with the big creature and delay the game into late games, because I have a pretty solid late game. Dark Scale Healer. If I pick this card, it's going to be used to help my creatures to be sticky on board. So I have to have some big creature to trade favorably, and I can clear their board while I still have my board, and they have to use AoE to clear my board. Corruption. Let's see. In what scenarios do we use corruption? We have to use corruption when they have a big creature, like a giant 1/8/8, and we cannot kill that creature. We cannot kill that creature with the board we have, or they have a big creature, or they have some creature, and we can remove it this turn. But then again, if in this situation if I had to use corruptions and I can't, if I don't play anything because it dies to the corrupted creatures, I'm pretty much dead anyway. So this one is a little bit worse than Power Overwhelming. Dark Skill Healer. We play this when we want to make a favorable trade against an enemy and then heal it up. But the problem is, at a 2 health, 3 health, most of these just dies to their cards. So most of the time this doesn't gain value until much later game, and these cards are the kind of cards that don't die that often. Let's say if they play a Boulder Fist Ogre, I play this, I will trade it. It still dies. Doesn't matter if I heal for 2 health or 3 health. It still dies to a Boulder Fist Ogre. If they play a Molten Giant, it just dies. So this doesn't work. But if they have a Molten Giant, Power Overwhelming can let me buff up, hopefully this card and kill their Molten Giant. But more likely buffs up, let's say, maybe this. Or that. This is like the dream case scenario. They play at 8/8, you power overwhelming the Jungle Panther, bam, you trade it. And it's a 2 health. It has 2 health, so it would die to the big creature anyway. I'm gonna go with Power Overwhelming. Ship's Cannon. This is the third Ship's Cannon we're offered in the game. Silver Hand Knight. Again, this card pushes us to late games. I think this card is more useful if the board is clear and you place this. You play the Silver Hand Knight, so it's a pain for your enemy to deal with if they have an empty board. Dancing Sword. This is a 3 mana drop, but we have a really good 3 mana turn. However, the Ship's Cannon, do we pick it? Well, we do not have a pirate, and 2 for 2/3. We already have this. We already have this. Both these cards are better than Ship's Cannon. Dancing Sword. If we pick this card, it's going to be just another card in our 3 mana list. So, in order to saturate our decks, I'm going to pick the Silver Hand Knight. You do have to keep in mind that you could, on turn 5, tap Hero Power and you play the Dancing Sword, but also we have so many 3-drops. If you tap, it's also really likely you're going to get either Felguard or one of these cards. So I'm going to go with Silverhand Knight. Okay, Summoning Portals. Reckless Rocketeer or Mogishan Warden. Mogishan Warden, I don't like to pick this card if I cannot either buff it up or I can use, let's say, Science, make this a 7/1 and trade for a giant. But since I don't have that, and this is pretty not reliable in Arena, imagine this card dies to a Raging Worgen. Raging Worgen hit it once, it becomes a 3/1/1/4. The Raging Worgen is enraged, hit again, this thing dies. Summoning Portal is interesting. I've never picked this before in Arena. And because it has 0 damage and 4 health, it's really not a good pick. It dies to a lot of creature on board. Reckless Rocketeer at least is 6 mana. Oh, it's not even the Fireball. Fireball can bypass Taunt. This thing cannot even bypass Taunt. But we'll have to pick this because it is the only card, the only significant card we have in our deck that can trade their creatures and bring back the board. Okay, last pick. We have a Murloc type counter. We have Gnomish Experimenter. Oh boy. Oh boy. Looks like we have to pick a Murloc. I picked this card once, and that's it. Not picking it again. I have a bunch of really good creatures I want to keep. So I'm not going to pick this card. I will not pick this card. And I don't have any Murlocs. Do I have any Warlocks? I don't have any Murlocs. No. Can I just skip this? Oh, I see. Do you see the synergy? I do have a Murloc. Puddle Stomper. Puddle Stomper. This is interesting. Okay. There are 2 ways to pick this card. Since we have a Puddle Stomper, we can either go turn 1 Murloc Tide Hunter, turn 2 Puddle Stomper. This one becomes 1 for 2/2, and this one becomes 2 for 3/2. Or I think a much better or reliable way is turn 1 Cold Light Seer and turn 2. No. Turn 2 Puddle Stomper and turn 3 Cold Light Seer. This one becomes a 2 for 3/4, so it becomes a Spider Tank. The unlikely case scenario if I play this is if the opponent has to pick a Murloc, then this one gains value, but if they see you play this in Arena, I'm pretty 100% sure they will not play a Murloc on turn 2. So Cold Light Seer is much more reliable. I will not pick this card because I have a lot of good creatures here. Well, they're not the best, but a lot of creatures I don't want to be chickenized. This card, again, I will pick this in a Druid deck, so they can combo with it's like 1 mana, and then you combo with the 7/7 Snake. Or if you play in, what is it? Hunter, yeah, you play in a Hunter deck, and you can combo with the Hunter synergy. 1 mana chicken, 3 mana. What is it called? Q command? Yeah, Q command. So this is more reliable in the Hunter deck and the Druid deck, but not in a Warlock deck. So we have 2 Dread Infernos. We don't have Void Colors, and that's the biggest downside in this deck. Void Color will be really helpful in this deck. You can drop this, you can drop this, and these are the only 3 demons we have in the decks, right? Oh no, you can also combo with this one. 4 demons. So, Cold Light Seer. Alright, this deck seems to be suboptimal. It doesn't have a solid early drop, and it doesn't have a way to regain back the board if they gain an early game. So maybe I can go to 4 wins with this deck, but again, it has to depend on what I queue into. And I'll make a video shortly about how this deck goes.